So let's talk a little bit about catching for the young ones. Couple things to note. Catching for young kids. They small hands. They got really small hands, and they use these little teeny tiny gloves that don't weigh anything, because anything that's significant, that's going to be really hard for them to move it around. A lot of the little gloves that you can buy, they don't often close that well, so it makes it really, really hard for young kids to learn how to catch. A way that they can always orient their glove is just kind of basket catching, and they can always get the ball to fall into their glove like that. So it's really, really hard for young kids to start learning how to catch. So we got to keep that in mind when we're trying to encourage them how to go about learning how to catch. The glove is a small, teeny tiny thing, and there's not much of a pocket in it, so keep that in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is the depth perception of a young kid. It is really a variable process for different kids in terms of how their eyes are progressing in regards to depth perception. Some kids at 7, 8 years old, they can already do a really good job of tracking that baseball as it's coming to them. Some kids, it takes till they're 10, 11, 12 years old before they can really comprehend that depth perception. So you'll have a lot of kids who at 7 or 8 really see the ball well and are able to catch already, but then you're going to have some other kids, 10, 11, 12 years old, that you find are still kind of scared and they're backing up, or they're reaching out way more than they need to because they think the ball is there, but the ball's not there yet. So keep that in mind when we're trying to teach young kids how to catch. Another thing to keep in mind, and this relates to what I want to talk about primarily right now, is the 4 different glove orientations that a kid can kind of be in to make a catch. Trajectory is a big thing. Balls that make their way up and then come on back down, we got to remind and keep the kids in mind of the idea of how that ball is going to travel. Something that's coming straight compared to something that's got a bit of a lob and is coming down, it's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging for them to learn how to catch. Anything above them that they need to turn their glove up to, we got to keep in mind that they got to get their fingers really, really up so that at least there's a pocket for the ball to settle into. You see a lot of kids on balls overhead, they don't really understand how to get the glove up, and it's a lot of swatting at the ball and kind of just trying to knock it down. So keep in mind as you're explaining to young kids about catching in terms of that trajectory and how they really got to work hard with their wrist to turn their fingers up so the ball even has a chance to get into the pocket. Down here, a lot of kids understand that. The ball can kind of just fall in there, and that seems like it's a little easier and a little safer to be out here with the baseball rather than up here. That's a little scary and that's a little challenging. If a ball's to this side of them and their thumb is up, that's similar to down here where they feel like that's something that they can accomplish. And as you can see, the glove has a little bit more to it on the bottom compared to the thumb. There's a bunch of fingers down here and there's just a thumb up here. So this catch isn't too tough. Toughest catch for kids, especially with those little teeny tiny gloves, especially those little teeny tiny fingers. This thumb down, when they have to reach out to their throwing arm side, that's a very, very tough catch to make. So as young kids are starting to learn about catching, we want to encourage them to experiment with all those 4 different glove orientations, but we also want to encourage them, as I was saying before, to move their feet so they can always figure out how to catch the ball in the center of their body. A very good drill for young kids to start working at: self-catch. It's a very simple thing. Maybe not a baseball for the 5, 6, 7-year-olds, maybe a tennis ball, maybe a wiffle ball, maybe one of those indoor balls. And all you're going to do is have them stand in a spot and try to toss the ball up to themselves. You'll see real quickly, a lot of them have the ability to catch it here. Let's start under the height of the head, and we're just doing this, and we're just doing this. We're trying to see the baseball go all the way into glove and kill it when it gets in there. For a lot of kids, they're not going to be able to kill it. It's just going to settle in there. It's going to rattle around. But at least we're trying to build into the kid that idea of watching the ball go into the glove, watching the ball go into the glove. Have them come out to the side, watching the ball go into the glove. Watching the ball above their head, and they're trying to reach up here is going to be tough. Out here is going to be very, very tough, but it's something that we can work at in terms of it progressing. So we can go under the head to here, under the height of the head to here, and then if they seem like they're able to handle that, now we can toss the ball above the height of the head, and we can go ahead and catch one up here. Maybe we don't want to encourage them to think about it landing right on their head. Maybe it's a little bit in front of them. Maybe it's a little bit off to the side. If they can handle that over here, just some self-catch can be a really, really good exercise for kids to start understand trajectory of the ball as it moves, and in terms of those 4 different orientations that they're going to have to work to catch the ball in. You can also build into that exercise with maybe 2 kids. let's say from where you are, you're the coach, and all you're doing is underhand tossing to the kids. One is on this side of the bucket, their feet are in place, and all they're trying to do is make a catch, put the ball in the bucket, make a catch, put the ball in the bucket. Maybe we're getting a little bit advanced and we can have them work forward to then put the ball in the bucket. Or maybe we can get a little advanced and have them working to the side to then put the ball in the bucket. This is a really good drill that you can do with a couple kids because you're always working back and forth between the two. You got a bunch of balls, they got a bucket here. Even if it so happens that the kid goes to make a play and they miss one, they just come on back here, collect the ball, put it in the bucket. All they're doing is playing a little bit of catch, or they have to go fetch. Either way, the whole objective for them in that moment is to get all the balls from you, put them in the bucket, and the quickest way that we can do that is if we catch it.